Okay, so today we're going back in time
Yeah.
to a time before,
A simpler time.
a simpler time. Yeah, before the internet as we know it.
Right.
Before cat videos took over the world.
Exactly.
We're diving deep into the origins of the World Wide Web.
The very beginning.
And this is a story that starts not in Silicon Valley,
No,
but in a physics lab.
it's true.
CERN, to be exact.
You got it.
The European Organization for Nuclear Research.
Yeah, a hub of incredible scientific minds from all over.
Yeah, like I'm talking about over 100 countries coming together to just
It's huge.
push the boundaries of knowledge, right?
Exactly.
But there was a problem.
Always a problem, right?
There's always a problem. And in this case, the problem was communication.
Yeah, how do you get all these brilliant people talking to each other?
Right. Imagine this. It's the 1980s.
Okay.
You're a scientist at CERN.
Right.
You're working on some groundbreaking research.
Yeah.
And you need to share your findings with a colleague, let's say, in Japan.
Across the world.
How do you do it?
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
Snail mail, fax machines, maybe a crackling phone call,
Oh, the crackling phone calls.
trying to explain complex equations over a bad connection.
Not exactly the recipe for rapid scientific progress.
Not at all.
So enter our hero, Tim Berners-Lee.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Well, maybe not the myth, but definitely a legend in the world of technology.
Definitely a legend.
Because in 1989, while working at CERN,
Yeah,
Berners-Lee had this, I guess you could call it a revolutionary idea.
it really was.
He envisioned a global interconnected system for information sharing.
And he even had the name ready to go, which is amazing.
World Wide Web. Did
Right.
he just pull that out of a hat?
It seems so obvious now, but at the time, it was revolutionary.
Right. And the thing is, he wasn't just talking about sharing documents.
No.
He was thinking bigger, way bigger.
He was talking about a network of linked resources where everything connected.
Okay, so explain that to me like I'm back in the 80s and I've never even seen the internet.
Okay, so imagine, back then, information was like trapped in silos.
Silos.
Yeah, like separate containers, right?
Mm.
You had to go to one place to find a research paper, another place for an article, another for a book.
Oh, I see.
And good luck finding anything, right? Because there's no way to search across all of it.
It was all so disconnected.
Exactly.
Mm.
And Berners-Lee wanted to break down those walls to create a way for information to flow freely between these different silos.
So that's where the whole web idea comes in.
Exactly. He saw the potential of hyperlinks. You know, those things we click on to jump from one website to another to connect information in a way that had never been done before.
So it was like taking this idea of hypertext but making it global.
Precisely. He saw that the internet, which was in its very early stages back then, could be the backbone for this interconnected web of information.
Hold on a second. Wasn't the internet already a thing back then?
It's a common misconception, but the internet as a network of computers did exist.
Okay.
It was mostly used by academics, the military, that kind of thing.
Right.
It was really Berners-Lee who saw its potential for everyone else, for you and me.
So he was kind of ahead of his time.
Way ahead. He envisioned a common language for sharing information, a way to make the internet accessible and usable for everyone.
It's amazing. Like he saw the internet's potential before the internet even knew what it could be.
That's a great way to put it. And his vision was even more radical when you consider that he imagined a web where everyone could be a contributor, an author.
Wow.
This was unheard of at the time when information flow was tightly controlled.
So a truly democratic platform for information sharing. It's kind of amazing how groundbreaking this idea was.
Completely groundbreaking.
But did everyone just immediately get it? Were there celebrations in the streets?
You would think so, right? But no, not quite.
Really?
His initial proposals for the World Wide Web were actually rejected.
Wait, rejected? They turned down the World Wide Web. What did they think they were going to use instead? Carrier pigeons.
It does sound crazy in retrospect, right?
Oh,
But luckily, Berners-Lee, he wasn't one to give up easily.
thank goodness for that.
Right. He was persistent, and he managed to get his hands on a NeXT computer.
Ah, yes. The legendary NeXT computer.
It was quite a machine.
For our listeners who weren't around back then, this wasn't your average desktop computer.
It was something else.
It looked more like it belonged on a spaceship.
Very futuristic for its time. It was, super powerful, but bulky and expensive.
Not exactly something you'd find in every home.
Exactly. But it was cutting edge for its time.
And this is where it gets really cool, because this NextT computer, this became Berners-Lee's, digital workshop.
It's true.
This is where he built the very first web browser,
The very first one.
the very first web server,
Yep.
and of course the very first website.
It all had to start somewhere.
Info.cern.rich, launched in 1990,
The birthplace of it all?
the official birthday of the World Wide Web.
That's right.
Okay, so picture this. The first website ever.
What do you think it was?
I'm guessing it wasn't selling anything.
No banner ads.
No banner ads, no pop-ups.
Definitely no cat videos.
Definitely no cat videos. So what was it?
It was a website about the World Wide Web.
Meta.
Very meta, right? It was
Yeah.
purely functional, all about providing information.
So, what kind of information are we talking about?
Think technical details, instructions for building your own server, links to other servers that were coming online.
So it was all very, very early stages.
Oh, absolutely. It even had things like, a CERN phone book on there.
Digital phone book, before digital phone books were even a thing.
It's amazing how far we've come.
Right, this was the internet equivalent of, I don't know, an early cave painting.
Trying to make sense of this new world.
Exactly, just trying to organize information before we even had search engines like Google.
Before anyone could have imagined what it would become.
And I love this little detail. It just shows you how new and fragile everything was. That very first website running on a NextT computer,
With a note tape to it.
a handwritten warning, do not power it down.
Can you imagine the entire World Wide Web hanging by a thread? Literally,
That would have been a tough day at the office for Tim Berners-Lee.
to say the least.
Yeah.
But okay, so we have the first website up and running.
On a single NextT computer, which you have to keep plugged in at all times.
Right, but who else could even see it?
That's a good point. Not everyone had a NextT computer just lying around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where the line mode browser comes in.
Okay, the line mode browser, tell me more.
This was a big deal because it meant that anyone with a computer, any computer, and an internet connection could potentially access the web.
So this is what started to open it up to a wider audience.
Exactly.
Okay, but line mode browser, I'm picturing something very, very basic here.
You're not wrong. Think text only, no fancy graphics, no images, nothing like the visual feast we're used to today.
So basically an old school text-based adventure game, but for the internet.
You got it. Very rudimentary, but it did the job.
And it was a crucial step because it made the World Wide Web more accessible.
It wasn't confined to just those specialized labs with NextT computers anymore.
Right, so it's starting to become a more democratic tool for information sharing, but still pretty clunky.
Definitely. And I think we all know what happens next.
Things get visual.
Exactly. Enter Mosaic.
Mosaic. This is the name that keeps popping up in all the research I've been doing.
It's a big one.
So what was so special about Mosaic? What made it such a game changer?
Mosaic, released in 1993, was the browser that really brought the web to life for everyday people.
Okay, so how did it do that?
For starters, it was user-friendly. Even your grandparents could use it.
That's always a good sign.
Right. It didn't require a degree in computer science to figure out.
So what made it so different from the line mode browser?
Multimedia. This was the big innovation. Mosaic could display images right there on the page.
Whoa. I mean, we take that for granted now,
Totally.
but back then that must have been mind-blowing.
It was revolutionary. Suddenly, the web wasn't just about text and technical documents. It was about visual communication.
It was about sharing photos, maybe even some early attempts at web design.
It was a whole new world of possibilities.
So Mosaic really changed the game, huh? It's wild to think how quickly things changed after that.
It really is like a tidal wave.
From this niche tool for scientists to this global phenomenon.
It's everywhere now, in every part of our lives.
It's true. And it makes you think, where do we go from here? What's next for the web?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What it started with scientists sharing data has become something so much bigger.
It's about how we communicate, how we learn, how we connect with each other.
Exactly. It's become part of our culture, our daily lives.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it.
It really is. And the pace of change is only accelerating.
That's true. It makes you wonder if we'll even still be calling it the web in a few years.
Right. Like, what even is the web anymore? Is it just everything?
It's a good question. I mean, we started this deep dive talking about scientists needing to share data.
Yeah.
And now look at us. Decades later, we're all connected in ways no one could have imagined back then.
It's remarkable, isn't it? The power of an idea.
It is. It shows you that even the simplest ideas can spark these incredible transformations.
Absolutely. And I think the big takeaway for me is that the web, the internet, it's still evolving.
It's not a finished product, it's a work in progress.
Exactly. And we all have a hand in shaping where it goes next, what it becomes.
That's an exciting thought. It's like Berners-Lee gave us this incredible tool, this blank canvas, and now it's up to us to decide what we're going to create with it.
That's a great way to put it, a blank canvas. The possibilities are truly endless, aren't they?
Truly endless.
Yeah.
And that's what's so fascinating about this whole story. So to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep creating, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Who knows what incredible things we'll build next?